tune in because it's Friday night. Probably got nothing better to do tomorrow. I know I don't. And we're about to jump right into the picks and bans here.
Oh, I'm excited to see what they're going to ban. Thresh right away coming out. Not wanting to play against that champion. No surprise. Excellent, excellent hooks coming out the night prior.
Yeah, we actually had Matlife definitely showing why Thresh is still a high priority pick or ban, but without Matlife in this game too, that's going to be a target at Biofrost, the support for the side of Nightblu's team. They respond immediately. Fate falls, fishing for Earth, not going to get his fizz.
Yeah, and no surprise there. I mean, obviously it's the champion he is most comfortable on, and he is a mean Fizz player. Definitely a huge dominant force in lane, and knows how to utilize that pick to the fullest. On a similar scope, on the opposite side, we see that Draven is banned away from Fabi, and I don't think there's any surprise there at all. Obviously, Fabi's best champion. It's got the most games in solo queue, and he pretty much, I would say, is the only challenger player who can really pull that champion off.
Well, yeah, did have the Draven ban and a Kali ban actually coming in. That's definitely something that reeks of solo queue, but I'm not necessarily sure who that's targeted at, if it's a target ban at all.
Yeah, similarly, the Riven ban doesn't really quite add up to what I know about these players. However, I'm sure that there is, something we're missing here. Maybe something that these players have seen recently in solo queue. And either way, I mean, Akali is a very strong champion and has the chance to snowball games, regardless of how well her early game performance goes.
Oh no. Oh no, Nightblu's team, what are you doing? They ban out Fizz, Akali, and Janna, and right away, Captain Trick2g picks up the Udyr. I think there's gonna be
No.
some gates being opened, Sifa.
I'm ready. But the interesting thing, I mean, is what Nightblue had to expect this. I mean, his team has to know that Trick2g is going to take the opportunity to pick up, Udyr. And maybe they baited it. Maybe they knew that they wanted this quirky Nami lane. Maybe they wanted these strong early picks. But it's interesting to me because now we see a Volibear, maybe not locked in yet, but for sure we know that the Udyr is going to be coming out, and this is Trick2g's strongest champ. So what is Nightblue going to respond with in the jungle?
It's gonna be really difficult. And the thing is, too, Trick2g right now is in the top spot because he is the captain for his team, going through these picks and bans. He doesn't necessarily have to go into the jungle. A Wild Mimo currently hovering over Lee Sin. He's a jungle player as well, so that could be top tier. That could be the jungle flame god tier. That could be any sort of champion. That's the best part about this Udyr pickup. Not only is it going to be just the fact that Trick gets a very comfortable champion, something that he was desperately wanted yesterday, but there's so many options of what he's actually going to do with it. Oh,
Yeah,
man, this
and
is
then
exciting.
I'm pretty excited about it. And this Jarvan jungle, we have seen, but we also saw Jarvan top lane over in Korea in a competitive scene. So maybe they're going to bust out something, a little less conventional here. Although it's interesting to pick these champions so early. Lucian for sure, though, is a pick that makes sense. I mean, just such a strong AD carry, offers so much, such good early game trading. And I remember in our first game of the night, we were really nervous about Lucian versus Caitlyn in a super dominant lane matchup, but it just didn't matter because Lucian is such a strong character and being played by, such proficient players.
Yeah, Zerbic, actually, that's going to be one of his most played AD carries there in Lucian, too, so you should be fairly comfortable in this matchup. Corki, though, can pretty much hold his own. Both of them pretty much AD caster-based champions, and as you know, Corki, a lot more mixed magic damage compared to Lucian, so we'll have to see how this lane winds up going. He does have the sustain support as well with Nami, and we've seen what Nami can do in the bottom lane, make some very nasty trade situations happen.
And this is really interesting. We're seeing Lee Sin locked in, most likely for the jungle, as he was scrolling through jungle champions. But, is this for Nightblue? Are we going to see the Nightblue Lee Sin? Not a champion he plays a whole ton of. Generally prefers champions like Kha'Zix or Pantheon or Elise, and he has been playing Rengar. So we did see him scroll through most of those champions, but then lock in Lee Sin. I'm curious what the thoughts are behind these picks.
Yeah, actually, this is very interesting. They actually lock in a Maokai. They have a Lee Sin on the side of Nightblue's team as well. And Nightblue, he's played pretty much anything in the jungle. I mean, his Pantheon is open. Kha'Zix is open. He's played a lot of champions such as Nunu. And, of course, the coveted Warwick on patch 420 is open. And favoring this Lee Sin, it's not something you see him play every single day.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see if we see both Trick2g and Nightblue go into the jungle, or if we're going to see a little bit of a role mix-up here from these players. I mean, they're obviously all solo queue players, so they must be comfortable on, a multitude of roles. We do see that Maokai top pick locked in, kind of a safe pick early for Nightblue's team. Don't want to give too much away, and Maokai doesn't really have any terrible lane matchups, so it's a pretty safe standard pick. We do also see Xerath locked in. A little bit of poke on the opposite side, probably to stop that Corki from being able to poke down too much. And Braum, that Lucian Braum bot lane, how strong do you think that's going to be against a Nami and a Corki?
Lucian Braum has had the synergy since basically Braum was introduced because Lucian has the double shot. Braum has the ability to get the stun off of his passive, and that's going to be super, super annoying. But with the sustain and the mobility in the bottom lane, you really got to catch those two slippery fish before you actually wind up blowing one up with a lot of damage. I'm actually really interested in the Xerath pickup here from Fishing for Earth. We saw him picking up the Syndra yesterday when Fizz was banned out, kind of playing the opposite side of one of those counter matchups in the mid lane that we talk about a lot. But Xerath has been something that he's been actively practicing with the team. So I'm really excited to see how he's leveled up on that champion in the mid lane. And right now, he doesn't know what he's playing against, too. So he's got to feel pretty confident just blind picking that one.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a pretty safe matchup. You've got so much range on Xerath that you're always going to be able to farm safely. And we do see the Orianna coming in on the opposite side. No surprise there. Another very safe mid laner. Combines pretty well with Maokai as well for an excellent team fight engage, or Lee Sin. You know, you can pretty much get in there and activate that ball any way you want to.
So now we have Orianna being picked up in the mid lane going up against Xerath, and there's still some chance to swap around, but it looks like Trick2g is not giving up that Udyr, and he's not taking Smite. So that's going to be a top tier coming out from Trick2g's team. Something a little bit departure from the 1,000 stack Nasus that they attempted to run yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely, I think a more conservative top lane pick here, despite the fact that I don't think Udyr is the most conventional pick. He also is going to have a lot larger impact on the early game than Nasus did. And, you know, with Fishing for Earth on a Xerath, which is a much more comfortable champion for him, you know, the odds for Trick's team this game are a lot higher than they were last night.
Yeah, Nightblu3's team actually looks a little bit more cohesive as opposed to what they were running yesterday as well. I mean, they had the Fiddlesticks, they had a lot of poke, so they're kind of had this half tower siege, half Fiddlestick surprise ultimate go in kind of composition, but they went back to something that really just speaks of more team fight to me. Of course, Lee Sin can set up the pick to be a little bit more aggressive in the early game, but they got the Orianna, the Maokai, the Nami, everything really screams to me that they just want to fight.
Yeah, both these teams are pretty aggressive. Don't get me wrong. That the interesting thing is the Xerath pick is the only champion on Trick2g's team that doesn't look like it wants to jump into a team fight. So I'm guessing this is kind of going to be a battle royale. You know, there's going to be a ton of ganks, a ton of early to mid game team fights, and it's really going to come down to who can get those early leads and who can orchestrate team fights the way that they want to.
I really think it's going to come down to who can get tower pressure. Now, Nightblu's team, they definitely have the dragon control. Like, their dragon fight looks scary. If you have a Maokai teleporting into an Orianna shockwave and the Nami tidal wave, you really don't want to get anywhere in close quarters against that. But like we said, when you're going for like close quarters combat and you're playing a team that has a lot of AoE abilities and you're going up against Trick2g who just wants to open the gates, it's going to be really hard to try to lock that Udyr down, guys. We're going to see who's going to wind up coming out on top of this one. Is it going to be the Trick2g army? Is it going to be Nightblu's squad? We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to settle this one on the Rift, guys, so don't go anywhere. Jumping on to Summoner's Rift here as Trick2g and his army on the blue side are about to take on Nightblu and his squadron over on the red side. Trick's on Udyr, he's in top lane, and he doesn't have teleport. Things can only get crazy from here, Sifa.
Yeah, you know, I'm pretty ready for some Udyr dominance in the top lane. Despite the fact that I think Maokai is a much stronger champion in team fights, and in those mid-game team fights, I mean, you got to give a lot of credit to Trick2g here. He's just so comfortable on Udyr. It's obviously his best champion. It's going to be really interesting to see how this one-on-one matchup unfolds.
Well, we're going to get action right away. A level 1 invade seems to go down as a bubble winds up catching down, but so does the slow from Braum. Winter's Bite does one stack. Corki flings some phosphorus bombs over the wall. There's a lot of poke and prodding going on, but it looks like it's going to be Trick2g and his squadron right now, brute forcing themselves into the enemy jungle, getting down some of those very early wards just to see where everybody's getting started.
Yeah, but I mean, they're taking so much poke. We see those Corki bombs landing over and over again. We saw the Maokai sap come in and the bubble initially landing on two. So they took a lot of poke just trying to get a little bit of vision control there. And at this point, they're pretty much going to have to back.
Well, they are going to wind up going back right in the tri-brush at level 1. Just some wards being placed down. They took a lot of poke damage, but one of the things that did end up happening is Nami wound up starting bubble rather than going for the ebb and flow. So there's not going to be that heal and that early trade potential really at the bottom lane.
Yeah, but I think they don't have too much to worry about, despite the fact that obviously Braum and Lucian have that potential to get that early level 1 stun off just repeatedly. I think they're going to be able to play it pretty safe. Corki has excellent range, and you've also got that phosphorus bomb to kind of keep him back and keep him safe. So as long as they hide behind the creeps and don't make any, really big positional errors, it's not going to be too huge of an issue.
Well, looks like everything is going to get started A-okay. We are going to have Zerbeck and Bive on the bottom side, helping a Wild Mimo off at those double Krugs. In the meantime, looks like Nightblu himself going to be starting over at the blue buff. A little bit more of a traditional Season 4 kind of style start for him in the jungle as Lee Sin gets that one. Bottom lanes are going to wind up coming together at the exact same time with pretty much the same in the experience department. And up in that top lane, this is really where my focus is going to be. Now, we said that Maokai, very solid pick, very tanky, has his built-in sustain with his passive, but you can pretty much say the same things for Udyr, only he's also packing a wallop of damage.
Yeah, and one of the big things here is that Maokai started Sapperling, which doesn't really give him a whole lot of options for trading with Udyr. He might be able to get some free poke in, but when Udyr comes in with that Tiger stance, Maokai pretty much has no chance to trade efficiently.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to see how this one actually winds up evolving in the match. With the tankier Maokai gets, the harder it's going to be for Trick to actually just shove that lane or even just try to out-trade against him. But, I mean, up until, like, the later stages when you want to get in that first back, it's going to be really difficult for Udyr. I also really want to know how much that teleport is going to come into play, because if Trick is not going to be using that teleport to go back and forth to lane as quickly as possible, Maokai might get some experience advantage. It's going to be really hard for him to, well, do that kind of proxy farm thing he tends to do on Udyr top.
Yeah, and I think one of the other big things is that Maokai is going to be able to have such a huge map presence with that TP, whereas you're pretty much always going to know where Udyr has to be. The other thing to consider is that Maokai's passive is going to come in huge here in this top lane, just because of how many abilities Udyr uses to trade and sustain efficiently.
Well, all across the map bottom lane, we did have some early advantages towards the side of Lucian and Braum. However, it does look like things have pretty much evened themselves out. Actually, Zerbeck taking a little bit more damage than Fabi in the bottom lane, but just one extra CS for his shovel. So things pretty much even across the board there. Middle lane, pretty much going how we expected it to go. Xerath and Orianna wound up trading a couple of spells back and forth at each other. No health potions popped over there, though. Just a little bit of back and forth and pretty standard stuff for the beginning stages of this game.
Yeah, and one thing I want you to keep in mind is that Lee Sin is actually in top lane right now, trying to pull off a lane gank, and depending on how this goes, it could really set the pace for the rest of the game. I mean, Trick2g getting behind in the top lane could give Maokai a huge advantage. As we said earlier, it's just going to get harder and harder for Udyr to be able to get a kill, and if Nightblu can pull off this gank, things are going to go well.
Well, it doesn't look like he wound up pulling the gank off whatsoever. Immediate flash coming out there from Trick2g, so he's going to wind up surviving through that one. The telegraph twisted advance from Maokai, not the best thing in the world, and he actually has to pop a couple of flash charges as well, just to get that mana back up from shoving the lane.
Yeah, and on the opposite side, we do see Jarvan responding to that top lane gank by taking away some of Nightblu's jungle, but the big question now is going to be, will Nightblu return to top lane? Will he take advantage of the fact that this flash is down, and can they capitalize on that, that blowing of that summoner spell?
Well, we're going to have to find out. Trick said to get out of his house, so across the map we go. Bottom lane, Biofrost actually getting knocked out there by Jarvan. First Blood's going to want to go into Zerbeck. Just a very easy textbook gank, while Nightblu is up in the top lane trying to camp that no flash Udyr. Trick2g pops Turtle Sands, trying to get that shield up, trying to get away. Sonic Wave, Resident Strike, a flash, and the red buff auto attack from Nightblu picks up a kill, cross map for his side.
And good on Nightblu for going back into the top lane when that flash was down and making full advantage of his character, getting that great early game advantage from Lee Sin, pretty much bringing in all the damage there himself. Obviously, level 5 Maokai does a little bit with bases, but not necessarily the highest damage champion. And then meanwhile in the bot lane, we did see that Jarvan gank coming in, very strong, that flag and drag combo offering a little bit of CC, followed up by that Braum passive very quickly from Lucian's passive as well. So just two pretty excellent, cleanly executed ganks there.
Well, all across the board, the summoner spells actually in favor of Trick2g's team here. There was an ignite used by Braum in the bottom lane, and Trick had blown his flash to avoid the first gank up there when Nightblu came to visit. But across the board, there were two flashes burned on the side of Nightblu Squadron. One from Maokai in the top lane, trying to secure that kill in the gank, and then one from Nami, who was just trying to get away and wound up flashing into that Jarvan knockup. So, slight advantages for Trick's team. They also got the first blood in that bottom lane and got Lucian a lot of time to farm up here. 40 CS, once again, a BF sword over Corki.
Yeah, and one thing to keep in mind for sure is that Maokai actually only got an assist there, and Trick is still pretty much maintaining about a 10 CS lead, so not a huge gold differential in that top lane, and it's still going to be on Nightblu to either apply that pressure or let that lane just kind of fizzle out and make full advantage of that Maokai TP later.
Well, we'll have to keep our eyes peeled around the Dragon Pit if and when Nightblu's team goes to, or tries to go there, because without that teleport being burned to get back to lane, Moonway is going to have that available for an objective such as that. He actually wound up going back, picking up 2 pieces for his Catalyst Protector, but not being able to finish it. Trick2g, 2 pieces for his Phage, unable to finish that one as well, but he does have Boots' speed, so he's definitely got the mobility that, well, he's pretty famous for on Udyr.
Yeah, and it's not, neither one of these guys has a huge advantage yet. Obviously, they haven't really completed a full item, and they've just both got a lot of bits and pieces, and you're not getting the full gold advantage out of those items yet. But we do see J4 coming in the top lane. Trick kind of playing a little forward, trying to bait in some aggression here. Lee's in there as well, though.
Yeah, Nightblu's here, and he has a slight level advantage over Jarvan. They are going to get the flag and drag to knock 2 up, however. Nightblue trying to get as much damage down as possible. Meanwhile, Mima's actually taking a lot of damage. Both junglers flash away. The shield from Nightblue is going to let him survive through that ignite. Trick and Wild Mima both extremely low, but Moonway has no mana available, so no one's going to wind up going down in that fight.
Yeah, really, really close fight, and good on Nightblue for being there and reading that gank. Other than that, I mean, we see him taking full advantage of that Lee Sin early game. Obviously going to be able to do a lot more damage than Jarvan, more consistent damage, and an excellent duelist, backed up by the tankiness of Maokai. That's a pretty hard 2v2 for them. I mean, they may have more damage, but it's pretty hard to outduel Lee Sin early, even when he doesn't have that attack speed slow anymore.
Well, we saw Fishing for Earth come all the way up from mid lane. He was looking for Nightblue, but wasn't able to really get the snipe with that Xerath. He sacrificed himself a little bit of CS in this mid lane to Orianna, but at the same exact time, Braille was actually trying to follow him, so maybe not all too much loss. Just a little bit of that ring around the rosy, and we saw that from Trick's team yesterday, too. Fate and Trick had that synergy when they were in the jungle, but they kept ganking that top lane as well.
Yeah, and one Braille we just saw misses Orianna ult there, which is going to be kind of huge for him, because Xerath still has his ult, making it pretty easy for him to follow up on any potential Jarvan ganks. I mean, once Jarvan locks Orianna down, even when she has flash, he can follow up with ultimate and try to trap her, you know, in that cataclysm and allow Xerath to get off all 3 charges of his ult.
Ooh, actually, the charges of the ultimate are used to try to steal away that blue buff. Got it down to 104 HP. That was just a little bit too far out of the ultimate range there from Xerath. So not able to snipe that with the Ready of the Arcane. Orianna's coming back with a healthy mana pool and Fishing for Herb. He does have that mana surge passive, but he is not going to be able to have enough mana to really spam spells against a blue buff Orianna.
Yeah, and one thing I want to look at in that bot lane is we do see Nami already upgrading her support item, so she's just going to have so much of a gold income just from that, you know, it's kind of going to put Braum behind, and it's part of the reason why I think this lane is having such a hard time is that Braum doesn't really offer any sustain, whereas Biofrost, despite the fact that he's taking a lot more damage, is able to consistently heal up in that bot lane.
One of the other things that could have caused that bottom lane a lot of trouble is the fact that Nightblue was kind of waiting in the wings there. He got the Toadstool armor from smiting the Grom, tried to see if there was a gank going to happen, but they were not able to bait out a dive in the bottom lane, just playing things a little bit safe, so Nightblue decides to go back. He's actually gone straight for Rangel's Trailblazer. He's picked up the 2 longswords, so probably expecting to see him go for a Warrior enchantment on that one. Same thing on the opposite side here with the Wild Mimo and Jarvan.
Yeah, and at this point, I'm really wondering when we're going to start to see objectives, or starting to see objectives getting contested. And, you know, when are we going to make use of this Maokai TP? When are we going to see him TP down for Dragon, TP down for ganks? At this point, it's really hard for him because Udyr's always going to be able to push that tower in. But with Udyr missing now, they have an excellent opportunity to fully utilize that teleport.
Ooh, some fights going on in the mid lane here. As now we see Trick2g actually coming down all the way from the top lane. Nightblue's kind of trying to follow after him, but can he catch up to Udyr? The dissonance comes out from Orianna. This is going to slow Trick down just enough to dissuade him from chasing after that. Fishing for Earth took a lot of burst damage from that Orianna, though.
Yeah, and that alone might explain the Orianna pick. Just that dissonance is going to make that Udyr pick so much worse and so much harder for Trick to catch anybody in this game.
Well, all the displacement in team fights is going to be a really big factor, too, as we see bottom lane more trading, some bubbles and back and forth going down, and I gotta say this one, actually. Fabi looking a lot more comfortable on Corki than he did on Caitlyn yesterday.
Yeah, for sure, but even then, he still has a pretty substantial CS deficit. I mean, well, maybe not huge, but about 10.
Actually, we did see Biofrost taking a lot of damage. Actually, a Wild Mimo's going to get initiated on right here by the side of Nightblue's team. They were waiting in the wings around Dragon Pit, and Mimo just maybe a little bit too far forward without the rest of his team.
Yeah, risky play there, and this is finally the objective control that we wanted to see coming in from Nightblue's team. We do see that TP going back into the top lane, stopping that Udyr pressure. Excellent, excellent play, and that 8% AD and AP is going to come in huge for this team.
It's kind of the opposite of what we expected to happen. We kind of expected Udyr to maybe not have the teleport to join up with a dragon fight, but in this case, the teleport was used to go up to where Udyr was after securing the dragon fight. Of course, the pick on Jarvan in the jungle, very, very good, completely set that dragon up for the side of Nightblue's team. So like you said, Sifa, 8% AP and AD for the red side. They get the first dragon of the game. The gold, well, it's pretty much bang even across the board right now at 14,500 as those top laners just continue to take swings at each other.
Yeah, and you're starting to see Moonway trade more and more efficiency in this, or efficiently in this top lane, and that's just because he's getting those level ups. His abilities are starting to do more damage, and on top of that, because Trick is also a higher level, he's able to spam more, which in turn gives Maokai more healing. Just slowly going to start seeing that matchup turn into Maokai's favor, at least at this point in the game.
Yeah, that's actually something I didn't even take into consideration with this Maokai pick against Udyr. Just the fact that his sap magic is going to go off so much quicker because of how much Udyr wants to change stances. That's killer.
Yeah, it's a tough matchup, and I think Trick didn't really take that into account when thinking about potential top lane opponents. However, Trick2g is so skilled at this champion that in the mid game, he's probably not going to fight Maokai at all. We're going to see that proxy farming. We're going to see him, try to open the gates, try to get people to chase him all over the map, and it'll probably happen, knowing how proficient he is.
Well, knowing how much Nightblu3 like to visit that top lane, or at least follow after wherever Trick is going, there's definitely going to be a wild goose chase at some point in time in this game. Trick actually taking a lot of damage, is going to wind up trying to recall here, but Moonway just not letting him go back with those saplings. Mid lane in the meantime, fishing for herb, got hit up with the shockwave, flash forward from one Braille here. The Yunzik burning the heal there from Xerath as well, and he's not able to take him down, and a lot of stuff was used mid lane.
Yeah, and Orianna with the red buff is particularly brutal for Xerath because normally he can kind of keep her at range and back off with that stun, but in that case you saw that he was already slowed from the red buff when he did land the stun, making it so much more difficult to disengage those kind of fights that Orianna wants. Although I will say it was probably an over-aggressive use of Flash there, especially when she doesn't have ultimate. We do see Nightblu3, however, in this top lane, trying to get a kill on Trick here.
He doesn't get the kickback. A Flash is burned right there as well, but Trick2g, unfortunately, is going to wind up going down. Nightblu3 took a little bit of damage. Actually, Moonway is the one that was tanking the tower up there. Does not go down. Speaking of towers, mid lane tower goes down at the same exact time as one Braille is actually able to pick that one up. Bottom lane, they're going to dive a tower. It's just everything involving towers at this point. Biofrost locked up the Cataclysm, but a wild Mimo goes down from taking that tower. Fabi's the one who picks up the kill. The heal goes down. Bive and Zerbeck, this is going horribly wrong. Biofrost still alive. The culling comes out, unable to pick up a kill. It's a double kill for Fabi, and a tower in the top lane at the same exact time for Moonway. Everything bad just happened for Trick2g's army.
That is right. Everything just went wrong there. That gank wasn't quite coordinated the way they wanted it to be. That Braum really lackluster, not doing what they needed it to. And obviously that gank in the top lane from Nightblu3, combined with the tankiness of Moonway, they were able to take out Trick2g very easily. And of course that tower was already low and those minions were already pushed up. So just transition that into an easy tower and then surprisingly a double kill in the bot lane as well. Things are not looking good for Trick2g's team.
Well, it's still pretty early on, so they do have a lot of time left to turn this one around. Nightblu3 actually getting cut out in the enemy jungle here. Does find fishing for herb, but in comes Bive as well. The stun proc's going down. The right of the arcane going fishing for herb. Misses all of them. Nightblu3 flashes away. Arcane Uppo's not going to land either, but the slow does wind up coming down, and fishing for herb picks up a kill. The Krugs help him assist on that one.
Yeah, definitely. Krug's doing a lot. Well, maybe not doing much damage there, but in general, just doing a lot more damage in this new jungle. And of course, despite the fact that Fishing for Earth missed those 3 alt procs, it was just good on Nightblu3 to dodge them all.
Yeah, that was
excellent work there. Yeah, step forward, step back, and then flashing over the wall to dodge the last one. Excellent play, kicking over to those golems. I mean, if he had 200 more health, he might have gotten away there.
Oh man, Trick2g caught out of position over here. There's no tower for him to fall back on. Moonway is definitely a tanky opponent at this point in time with his Rod of Ages completed. He's going to have to try to run away from this one. Pings are going down while we do see Orianna trying to come and cut him off by blue buff. The teleport's coming in from Moonway at the same exact time. There's going to be the command shockwave, and Trick2g goes down.
And this is going to be really hard for Trick2g because he is so used to that solo queue environment where communication isn't as good, but all 5 players on both of these teams are actively talking to each other, actively communicating the location of enemies and wards. And, when you look at exactly how good that Maokai is against Udyr, you just got to wonder if Trick2g was really prepared for these kind of meta picks.
Man, well, Nightblu3 actually came down to the bottom and taking a lot of damage from Zerbeck, though. The Ebb and Flow does come out for Nami to keep him alive. The Tidal Wave was used already, as well as the Dragon's Rage. Nightblu3 now and his team turn and tail and running away from this bottom lane. Bive winds up jumping in, gets the Winter's Bite down on Fabi, but his sights are set on Nightblu3. The Ebb and Flow goes off once again, but in comes Brown's ult, the knockup coming in from Glacial Fissure, gets the slow down to Fabi, and a snipe there from Fishing for Earth seals the deal with a kill.
Yeah, and I think that was just a little bit over-aggressive there from Nightblu3. He was just playing too forward, trying to go a little bit too hard for that gank.
Cataclysm goes down. A wild Mimo jumps onto Biofrost. In comes Lucian. Are they going to be able to pick up a kill here? Winter's Bite goes wide to the left, but a wild Mimo still chasing down. Flag and Drag misses on Biofrost. Gets a couple of auto attacks down on Nightblu3. They're diving a second tier tower while the first one is still available. That one's being taken down by Fate Falls at the same exact time, but still forcing away Nightblu's team, going a little bit too deep, but there was no one there to punish him for it.
Yeah, and the thing about that is it's originally Nightblu who overextended, and then when they saw how many cooldowns were blown running away, they knew they could dive pretty much without fear. That Maokai TP also not available in that situation, so they were pretty safe to overextend there. Well, not even overextend because they weren't punished for it, and pull away. Not a huge advantage gain, but definitely something to help them stay in this game.
Well, at least Fishing for Earth was able to get back to mid lane in time to keep that tower alive. Braille was just, that YL just wants me to say Braille, but Braille in the mid lane take a large chunk of its health down, so that tower is going to be in an easy to push position if that's going to be where Nightblu's team focuses next. However, the dragon is up, and that stacking dragon buff, we see that be a huge factor in the game so far in OMEN Encounter. No reason for them not to try to get that two dragon stack buff to definitely quell on some of that split pushing power, because they'll be doing the ones dealing the extra damage to the minions.
Yeah, and it's not, the most important buff for them, but it's definitely important to deny that 8% extra AD and AP away from Trick2g's team, and that minion damage is going to help Maokai push that much harder in the top lane.
Dragon goes down, no contesting there from the side of Trick2g's army, and it looks like Nightblu and his squad are going to keep their second dragon buff of the game. Five, maybe stuck between a rock and a hard place, does want to put in the Braum shield up right there just to get the unbreakable and make sure Corki's rockets don't do too much damage, and he is able to just hop, skip, and jump away from that one. 26,000 gold compared to 24,000 gold, 6 kills compared to 3, and 3 towers to 1. That's the lead that Nightblu's team has right now. Blue buff is on Corki. All those outer towers are down for them. Now they got to try to break this inner tower ring and try to siege down.
And that makes perfect sense to me. I mean, the one thing that did surprise me during that dragon fight is we did see Trick2g trying to apply pressure in that top lane, but he's so far behind at this point that even clearing those minion waves to get to tower is going to be difficult for him. And at this point, I'm wondering how exactly the siege is going to come out from Nightblu's team, and if they can execute it properly, will they attempt a tower dive?
That's one thing you got to keep in mind. That mid lane tower down to 380 HP, they can poke him off with Corki and just get a couple of pot shots, and that's going to be very, very difficult to stop, because that tower, if it's just poked down with a couple of auto attacks, 1 or 2 waves could just be completely clearing that out and pave a way for a tower dive. But it looks like Nightblu's team, they're just going to try to stop the split pushing master right here. They're going to close the gates in every single lane right here. As Trick2g unable to gain traction, as he went back and picked up a Trinity Force and tried to head bot lane.
Yeah, just unable to do anything in that top lane even, and it's so surprising how well this Maokai pick is working out for them. Maokai not necessarily known for being a split pusher, but when he's 0-0-4 and has, 142 CS and all these excellent items in the early game, he can pretty much push anywhere he wants to. He is such a beefy tank.
Well, he's actually able to steal Grump away, too. He can do that. Just twisted advance right down on top of it. Percentage of max health damage probably helping out with that one, as he wants to steal it away from Lucian. Some coveted gold decided Trick2g's army would probably be looking forward to. He's actually got an Avarice Blade as well as an Infinity Edge on Lucian, which is not too shabby of a place to be right now. 175 CS compared to 142 for the side of Fabi. Those completed Trinity Force and those Sorcerer she's already upgraded for Corki, so those rockets going to pack a punch.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing I do want to keep in mind is that, while we see Zerbic farming in the top lane, he's just, pushing back every time Moonway pushes in. And that's pretty much exactly what Trick2g's team wants to do. They are happy farming against that Maokai who has no kill pressure by himself, just not enough damage to kill Illusion, especially with that tower shield coming into play here.
Solution's going to be the one to keep Maokai at bay in the top lane and try to keep him away from the red side of his own jungle here, as that seems to be where Nightblu's team is setting up camp right now. His teleport's still available, and to my knowledge, Lucian has no way to stop him from actually doing that. And Lucian actually is a very large part of Trick2g's team's damage. So the more Maokai keeps him away, the more that Nightblu's team is just going to gain ground through this vision control they're trying to put down. They're going to force Jarvan away, the flag and drag. Stun comes out from Fishing for Earth, but doesn't really land on anything. And with that forward pressure from Maokai, that's another buff they're going to steal away. That blue one coming away for them.
Yeah, and one of my big concerns here is that Trick2g, started immediately with that.
Nightblu actually getting a little fancy, goes into tower and kicks back on Fishing for Earth. Fabi picks up a kill right there. Tidal Wave goes in and winds up knocking up 5. He's trying to jump away across to some of these minions, but that was just a really bold pick there by Nightblu, and they're going to get the second tier mid tower for it.
Yeah, Nightblu, seeing the team not really coordinated there, not really sticking together, just jumps in for that kick back into the team, getting that excellent pick, and then, of course, that low health tower, like we talked about, just took a few pot shots, took it down for the team. Another gold advantage coming out for Nightblu's team, and a 4K gold lead about for them.
Yeah, Nightblu's team is definitely looking a lot more cohesive than they were yesterday. At the same time, Trick2g was in the bot lane trying to pressure this second tier tower here. Gets a lot of damage down to Biofrost. The teleport was burned from Moonway. Fabi's here too. Everybody's chasing after King Trick, trying to get him down. The Wolf Camp's going to be his enemy in this case. At the same exact time, Braille actually takes down a wild Mimo, but he's going to flash away from Bive on Rob right there. He flashes into Trick2g, and actually, he's able to pick up a kill there. The Raptors wind up helping out Trick2g. He gets not only a shutdown spree out Orianna, but a much-needed kill and much-needed gold for himself.
Despite the fact that I might have a lot of grievances with this Udyr pick, I can see clearly now why they want to pick it. I mean, look at all those flashes blown, and he's still got to kill. All those summoner spells just, thrown away for this Udyr, and, nothing really happening for it. Trading 1 for 1 in the end.
Man, a lot of people forget the fact that when you max Tiger Stance on Udyr, you're dealing a lot of physical damage on a 2-second dot, and, well, Orianna felt the pain here. Speaking of feeling the pain, though, Fishing for Earth gets blown up once again by a very nice catch from Nightblu's Lee Sin there. It's a quick kick back into Fabi. It was almost like deja vu, same place, too.
And this is something I think we're going to see him do again and again, at least until they find a way to deal with it. It's really hard for them to stop this Lee Sin from doing anything outside of, like a predictive E from Xerath or, some very, very quick responses from Trick himself, who is very rarely with the team. And like I mentioned earlier, one of my big concerns is Udyr isn't having a whole lot of tanky stats. Now, he has a lot of faux tankiness just from, the turtle stance, but with that Stinger and with that Triforce, he's not going to really offer anything for his team's team fight.
Yeah, but he's got so much move speed. When you get into a chase situation like that, he ran away. He burned a teleport. He got a tower down to, how much HP is that second tier tower? Okay, he got like about 400, 500 damage off on that tower, and he wound up picking up a kill on Orianna, who, despite using a nice command shockwave right there, gets caught out of position again, and Zerbik's the one that picks up the kill, and that's a damage source for Trick2g's team that is really going to like that gold. And the same exact time, 15 seconds till Dragon's going to spawn. There's no shockwave, and more importantly, it's going to be a 4v5 situation by Dragon Pit.
Yeah, and a horrible miscalculation on that first kill where she flashed over the wall and immediately died to Trick2g. And then on that second kill, Trick2g's team very aware that they're still going to get that kill. We do see Cataclysm blown there, not for anything though. We do see Trick2g's team aware that she blew that flash and just goes in immediately for that second kill.
Well, there's no Cataclysm, but like we said, no Shockwave means that everybody is down at least one ultimate. The Dragon's going to go over to Trick2g's army. They pick up their first buff of the game, so that's 8% AD and AP to balance out against the 2 buffs that Nightblu's team has. And that's some much-needed extra stats from Trick's team, as the captain himself is trying to knock down some towers and open a path to the enemy base right here. Everybody from Nightblu's team here is going to be chasing after him. Flashes used from Fabi as well. The auto attack's coming out. Looks like Trick2g just trying to buy some time. He is going to be able to wind up stalling them all the way back to their own base, but unfortunately his team didn't really get much out of that.
Yeah, and one of the things that I would be really scared of as far as Trick2g is concerned is that, that dissonance from Orianna, and on top of that, Nami, who not only gives her own allies movement speed, but can also slow your movement speed, with those empowered auto attacks. And Nami and Udyr together, excellent, but Nami against an Udyr, I mean, that's just tough when the Udyr's not ahead.
Well, let's take into account here. I think every single person besides Corki can slow down Udyr on that team. So Udyr's definitely going to be feeling a little bit of heavy feet if he wants to get caught out by almost anybody on the side of Nightblu's squadron. And so far he's been caught out a decent amount, but this is kind of what Trick does. His quote-unquote feed to win strategy. 1 in 5 right now. He has extra tenacity in a Zephyr. It's going to give him even more move speed. He's got the Trinity Force for that as well. We'll have to see how many wild goose chases he can lead the enemy team on. And more importantly, what does his team do to respond? Because they got to be thinking at this one, they're a force of 4, not 5.
Yeah, and just look at Corki. Look at Fabi on that Corki pick, building Bloodthirster, not Blade of the Rune King. More worried about getting that shield to stop, the potential Xerath burst than worried about getting that movement speed steroid for himself and that max health damage to kind of help with that Udyr pick. So, just not really that afraid of this Udyr pick in that case, despite the fact that, Trick is probably the best Udyr in North America from what we've seen.
It's a bold statement there, Cotton. We'll see if it pans out for him. Speaking of the Udyr, he's going to be in the bottom lane right here. Getting slowed up, actually dodges the bubble out right there. Juking and jiving left and right. So many skill shots being used, but Fabi actually is able to take him down. Meanwhile, cross map, a wild Mimo just jumps onto Braille right here. The command shockwave goes down, but he and Bive going to get obliterated right here by Nightblu. Fate's going to want to get in the Xerath ultimate here. The right of the arcane wants to picking up a snipe. Moonway at the same time is trying to pick up a blue buff, as that's going to be sliding back and forth. Across the map so far, it's a 3 3 for 2 as Trick went down in bottom lane. This blue buff fight, though, back and forth. It's going to be a Maokai against a Lucian and a Xerath, but Maokai is super tanky. A tidal wave's coming over the wall as well. Looks like the ultimate is popped right there, too. They're really fighting for this blue buff, but a lot of damage coming out from the 2 carry sources from Trick2g's army, but in comes Fabi from the side as well. Flash forward from Moonway, a flash away from Zerbeck. They dive down onto fishing for Herb. He's going to get blown up, and the heal comes out. Moonway taking one more shot. No! He doesn't go down. It's a double kill and a dive for the side of Nightblu's team.
An excellent, excellent play from Moonway there, knowing exactly how tanky he is and knowing what CC he could offer the team. He may not have been sure that that flash was boned for fishing for Earth, but he did make that play anyway. You know, made that decision, went with it, and his team was there to follow up. Just excellent team play coming out from Nightblu's side. You know, despite the fact that Fishing for Earth did earlier get that ult off, and I was obviously much more patient with those, you know, those ult stacks, killing Nightblu this time instead of just watching him juke every single one. Waited for him to go over the wall before firing that shard shot and playing really well. It doesn't really matter when you have a Maokai and a 7-1, well now 7-1, previously 5-1 Corki on top of you.
Yeah, definitely Fabi having a very, very good game, especially compared to his Caitlyn performance yesterday. It's the Fabi that showed up. Either Fabi winds up going like 10-0 or 0-10, and right now, this is good Fabi. So Fabi's definitely helping out with the carry role in this one. Like you said, 7-1-1 on Corki. Going down towards that bottom lane, as we did see Trick2g down there as well as Moonway on that Maokai. So they really want to try to stop this. They really want to stop this Udyr from pretty much doing anything. They can see in Trick's inventory, he's picked up that Elixir of Ruin, which is pretty much a dead giveaway that he's dedicated to trying to knock down those towers. He wants to get into that enemy base.
I think the Zephyr and the Triforce might have been a dead giveaway, but yeah, I think Elixir of Ruin, you know. The final tell here. And despite the fact that, you know, you can see Trick, this is his thing. He's trying to open the gates. We do have Fabi on the opposite side, the gatekeeper.
Look at this. The gatekeeper's chasing after the guy who wants to open the gates. At the same exact time, everybody from Nightblu's team's like, oh, we could go down bottom lane and maybe chase or take this tower and split. They're going to want to just go into a base race situation. They're going to try to trade tier 2 for tier 2, and Trick2g from before did a lot more damage to that mid lane tower. Maokai's actually going to try to teleport back. So this is a 5v4 pushing situation right here. Recall's going down from the side of Nightblu's team. Maokai's super tanky, actually going to pick up a kill on Vive, but they're just focusing down the tower. Moonway now dropping down extremely, extremely low. That's going to be the tank. That's the crutch for Nightblu's team. He goes down. There's an inhibitor tower going down, and Nightblu's team is recalling. It's a base race situation, and Trick2g's army takes down the mid lane inhibitor. The gates are open, Sifa.
At the same time, we see Fabi on the bot side take that inhibitor too, but excellent, excellent play from Trick2g's team. I mean, responding to them pushing down in the bot lane and to committing so much in that bot lane, they're like, if you want to take bot, we'll take mid, deal. Every time. And, you know, of course, Trick2g, they felt pretty comfortable going up against Trick after they saw him, you know, trying to proxy waves, but they didn't even take into account the other 4 members hard pushing down that mid lane.
Man, that was... If Fabi was not as beefy as he is right now, they might not have traded inhibitors in that situation. It might have been a huge advantage for Trick2g's team. The fact they went even in that trade and even picked up a kill is monumental. Now Nightblu's team, they say, we need to respawn. We need to go for this Baron while we know Trick's team is back. But now they're here. They're trying to push up. They're trying to get vision on this Baron to make sure it's not going to go down. But it actually has not reset yet. It's still doing a lot of damage to Nightblu's team, and they got to back away from this. And they saw Trick coming up the mid lane and they can't go for it. So still, we have pretty much an evened up map game right now.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, with both teams having a single open inhib, it's going to be hard to get anything outside of a pick at this point or a full-on team fight. And obviously, you're going to see Trick2g there. Still going to roam around the map, still going to try to create pressure wherever he can. We still have that first tier, top tier turret, or first tier, top turret open, and that dragon now coming out for Nightblu's team. And that third one's going to be huge.
Yeah, that third one is the move speed buff, so it's going to be really, really difficult to try to run away from them if they're going to be caught in another split push or even another one of those base race situations where they're just going to get to the areas a lot quicker than the side of Trick2g's team. So even though the base race situation was super excited, the inhibitors went down on both sides. Nightblu's team, they still have the lead. 5k gold in their advantage. 3 dragon buffs compared to 1, so there's 2 buffs in their advantage. 6 towers compared to 4, and 17 kills compared to 8. Trick2g's team, they definitely blew this game back open, but they're in no means out of a hole yet.
Yeah, and one thing to keep in mind is that despite the fact that they got the middle inhibitor, they traded for the bot inhibitor, which is really hard when you're contesting this Baron because they have to commit someone to that bot lane every time a super minion is down there. And the bot lane is so far away from Baron at this point that there is no way anyone on their team can respond in time.
They got no teleport too, so Trick2g can't even just go down there and split, but I guess he's just going to be content going towards top lane and splitting here. He's got 3 members chasing after him. The other members are chasing after fishing for Earth. Looks like the Frostmoon skin is going to slow him down at the same time. Fishing for Earth on the bottom side of the map's going to go down, so that's 2 members down. Only 3 left for the Trick2g army, and Nightblu's team, actually not they're split up. They're going to try to get picks here from Trick's side. A Wild Mimo wanted using the Cataclysm down on the Braille. Flash was used. Now Nightblu's going to try to go into Zerbic right here, but he's all by himself. He's got no team. Tidal Wave coming in from the side, but Bive's going to block that up with the Unbreakable Shield. In comes Lee Sin, but he's going to get taken down so quick. He has to get out of that one. Bive flashed away as well as Orianna comes in, dishing out the damage. They're going for kills here. Wild Mimo, he's going to get blown up by a Command Dissonance right there. Orianna scores a kill for herself, and now there's 3 members down from the side of Trick's team, and Baron's getting the pings.
You know, really greedy from Trick to be up in that top lane when there are so many members present. He just didn't, I don't think, have the wards to see all of them coming. And then at the same time, we see excellent coordination from Nightblu and from Braille down in the bot side to take out Fishing for Earth. Braille really coming out strong in this game. You know, outside of those first 2 kills that were a little sloppy, kills on him, he's been playing really well. I mean, we saw Nami utilizing the empowered auto attacks to slow really well to keep the team fight going, and Braille just kind of being a front runner at this point along with Moonway.
Well, they did want to get in the Baron from the side of Nightblu's team as well. Now they're trying to chase down Fishing for Earth. Unfortunately, he's going to be the one getting caught right there. He winds up going down. A blue buff stolen away from Nightblu's team at the same exact time. And it looks like right now that, like we said, the gold advantages were in their favor. They have the Baron, so now they have the pushing power as well. One person can try to go up and deal with Trick, and they'll have minions on their side as well. Braille actually going to wind up using Command Shockwave. Catches that Trick2g right here. Trying to run away, trying to do his thing on Udyr, trying to run around. Nami's actually going to show up as well. Biofrost puts down the empowered attacks coming in from Nami. The slows go down, and Biofrost is actually one credit with the kill right there, thanks to some nice Tidecaller's Blessing slows.
Yeah, the fish is stronger than the turtle in this case, ladies and gentlemen. Just too good. And I mean, just really, really, really tough for Trick there. Running deeper and deeper into enemy territory when no one, you know, is showing on the map. Biofrost just kind of wandered into that lane and picked up that kill. He happened to be in the right place at the right time, and just really bad luck from Trick at this point.
Yeah, it is a little bit unfortunate for their team. Like we said, they're down. They're not quite out yet. Both of these inhibitors about to respawn. They're going to be up in about 30 seconds on either side, but there's still a Baron buff that's going to be going on for well over those 30 seconds. So Nightblu's team, they have the gold advantages, they have the dragon buff advantages, and with the Baron ticking away too, it's going to be really hard pressed for Trick's team to do anything proactive because they just really got to sit in this base and defend against this push.
Yeah, the one nice thing that they do have going for them in this case is that Xerath has excellent wave clear, and Lucian with the Colin can also clear out waves pretty quick, despite the fact that they've been empowered by that Baron buff.
Well, we have some fights going on, some ward wars over the wall as the rest of Nightblu's team tries to rotate down to the bottom side of this map where that exposed inhibitor from the Trick2g army side is going to be. Maokai winds up popping down the ulti right here. Vengeful Maelstrom's going to try to zone everybody out. The exposed inhibitor goes down, and now there's only one inhibitor down on the map, and that's going to be on the blue side. Looks like Nightblu's team getting a little bit cocky, though. They might want to go in for this Nexus Tower. One of them is already down at half HP. Didn't even realize that wound up happening when those minions are pushing down on that broken inhibitor lane. It's dropped down extremely low. They're going to want to get poked out by the side of Trick2g squadron, but it's not going to be for forever. They have that Baron buff. Mid lane, there's a wave that might be pushing down, and actually, mid lane, Trick's going to try to backdoor that inhibitor. We're going to see what the reaction is right here. They know it's a 4v5. Baron buffing the minions. Nightblu's team is going in. Trick's going to get that inhibitor down, but a Nexus Tower falls. They want it going down onto Bive. Bive's going to get taken down. Command Shockwave doesn't hit anybody, though, and Orianna's taken out of the equation. Fishing for Earth gets kicked in, and he wants it going down, but Zerbic and Jarvan are still alive. Flashes go down. Now a Wild Mimo getting taken down is going to want to get the flag and drag back into base. One Nexus Tower is alive. The health bars are extremely low on Nightblu and Fabi. Trick2g was able to get that inhibitor. Now he's back in the fray. So they even up the inhibitor game. It cost them the Nexus Tower, but actually that's not the worst fight in the world for Trick2g's team right now. But Moonlight gonna get the advanced stack down onto Wild Mimo right here. Looks like Trick2g trying to get on the bottom side of this one, trying to get towards Nightblu, but he's actually going to snipe up a kill with a Sonic Wave onto a Wild Mimo. Now it's a 3 versus 4 situation. Moonlight goes in. He's trying to get on the Zerbic, but Zerbic's in the fountain. He's getting healed up. Braum is going to respawn just to go down. It's a 4v2 now in favor of Nightblu's team. They have the super minions and the Baron buff still on them to push in on this last Nexus Tower, but the respawn timers are up for some members, and Fishing for Earth is available with the DPS all back on Trick's team. Nightblue squad has to run away.
Yeah, and with Maokai so tanky at this point, Trick's team's going to be hard-pressed to kill him in any situation. We saw Lucian, consistently auto-attacking him there, but it's just not making a huge difference because of how quickly he heals up with that passive. And with that Thorn Mail and that Frozen Heart, Lucian just not able to do quite as much as he wants to.
Well, there's going to be a dragon attempt here by Nightblu's team. They know that that inhibitor is down and the Nexus tower has been taken down from Trick's side. No real contesting going down. That's going to be the 4th dragon buff for Nightblu and his squadron. It's going to be that extra pushing power, the extra damage to towers, and with only one key building left on the map for them to take down, I think I know where they're going to wind up going here.
Yeah, probably waiting for Baron to respawn, or maybe waiting to get that 5th dragon buff, because at this point, there's really no pressure on them to do anything. But I suppose if they wanted to end the game, I guess they could push down mid lane.
Well, they have the power available. Baron buff's not on their side anymore, as that one has now fallen off, but man, did they really make use of that one. An inhibitor, a Nexus tower. They did lose their open inhibitor in the mid lane, which will actually respawn a little bit later than that bottom lane inhibitor, which does give Trick2g's side a little bit of time to push down mid lane, or at least counter push if they survive that long. But definitely things looking in favor of Nightblu's squad. Now it's 63.6k gold compared to 53k gold on Trick2g's side. The kills just kind of tell the story of this game too, Sifa. 26 compared to 9, 7 towers compared to 4, 8 towers. Now as that second tier tower in the top lane finally goes down.
And we saw Xerath backing in that push there, pretty much helpless to stop that push. Despite the fact that he had the ability to wave clear there, anything he did would have gotten him killed by that Nami and that Corki combo. Fabi coming up so huge here. Bloodthirster, Triforce, Infinity Edge, all these items just maxing out his damage, and he's working on that, Bloodthirster, Triforce, Last Whisper, working on that Infinity Edge right now.
Nightblu with his Elixir of Iron is just a giant zoning guy here. He's just standing in the middle of the enemy team, trying to get as much damage down as possible. They force him away from that top lane tower, and like we said, with all that extra damage to structures, they're going to want to take down a top lane inhibitor as well. So now they have the 2 sides of the base taken down. Nightblu actually getting caught out here, stunned up by Trick2g, shut down by Zerbic. He gets jumped down here by Moonway though. Jarvan's going to go in on Braille at the same exact time. The Zani's Hourglass is popped. The Shockwave is still available. When's it going to wind up going down? He has to flash out though. Fabi's able to wind up picking up a kill. Moonway does not yet go down. They do pick up a kill, looked like on a wild Mimo, but at the same exact time, both damage sources for Trick2g's team are still alive. The tank and one of the AP carries from the side of Nightblu's team are extremely low. They take an inhibitor, but they can't take the game quite yet.
Yeah, and we saw Nightblu didn't even get to ult there, which was really, really tough for him. And despite the fact that Moonway is so tanky, and in situations like that where he's constantly locked down and can't auto-attack to fully utilize his passive, he goes down, maybe not quick, but definitely quicker than he'd like to.
Yeah, he's definitely got a lot of armor on his side as well. Frozen Heart in addition to a Thorn Mail, so he's going to be blocking out a lot of physical DPS, but he's going to get chunked down by fishing for Riff on Xerath. He has a Morello Nomicon, has picked up a Void Staff, and has a Death Cap. And with the base damages of Xerath too, he's going to be ripping through that Maokai who's, I mean, he's got a Spear Visage, he has Mercury Treads, but still, he's definitely more stacked on the armor side compared to the magic damage that Fishing for Riff is now putting out at level 16.
Yeah, and that Morello Nomicon passive is going to come in huge here because it denies, 50% of that healing. And when he's low, that's what he's going to rely on to stay in these team fights because at a certain point, he has to back out, or die. And that's really not what he wants to be doing in these team fights because he's so crucial to their strategy. And he offers not only CC, but pretty solid damage too.
Well, bottom lane inhibitor for Trick2g's team has just respawned, but now they have to deal with this top inhibitor that's been knocked down. That, of course, means that Nightblu's team, their mid lane inhibitor is going to be coming back up in just a second. Trick's already over there to try to take this on as they're stuck in the Baron pit right here. Looks like Xerath uses ultimate here, the right of the arcane, not going to be able to steal that one away. A wild Mimo tried to go in, but he's going to get blown up. The Cataclysm locks them all up. They're trying to get the powered recalls off. Looks like Fabi's going to wind up going back here. All the rest of Nightblu's team pushes down. Trick2g is going to be there taking down the mid lane inhibitor, but can he 1v1 Fabi? It's a 9-1-8 versus a 1-8-2. Trick's going to turn tail, have to run away from that one at the same exact time. His team has been pushed back to their last standing inhibitor tower here, as now the second Baron buff for Nightblu Squadron, and the rest of the minions in the super lane going to try to put, rest of the super minions in the mid lane going to try pushing down with that Baron buff active.
Yeah, and like pretty much a 14k gold lead here, 13k gold lead, and it's just so huge for Nightblu's team at this point. They're just having trouble finding that perfect engage. Trick2g doing an excellent job of splitting their pressure, but we are going to see Braum go down there.
Yeah, the Glacial Fissure went off, but it wasn't enough to keep him alive. Now Trick2g, the exhaust went down, but he's going to barely stay alive. About half HP, has to go back to his fountain. That's going to be the bottom lane inhibitor coming down, and with a large chunk of minions available, they're going to start moving around, trying to take down this last tower and last inhibitor in the mid lane as well. There's 2 super minions in top lane, and of course the Baron buff going to be bringing everybody up to buff right here for the minions on the side of Nightblu's team. There's only 1 Nexus tower left available for Trick2g's team. Braum is dead. It's a 4v5 in this situation. It is definitely looking grim for the Trick2g army. They do have super minions of their own, but only 1 lane spawning in the mid lane as they just focus that guy down immediately, and they're trying to put the pressure on Nightblu's team. They want to pick up this win. It's an inevitable fight. They're just kind of dancing back and forth. Nightblu's team doesn't even have to go in for it. They have so much pressure on the map with 3 lanes of super minions pushing down. All they have to do is wait for those to show up.
Yeah, and Nightblu's team is constantly providing the threat that they could end the game, which means that, Trick's split push build is, get away quick build, never get caught build is useless when he's trapped in his base like this.
Well, looks like the Trick's team is trying to fight themselves out from basically what is their summoner platform at this point in time. 3 waves of super minions plus Baron buff. There's going to be 6 super minions pushing in at a time on all sides of the base. So while Mimo actually goes in, he's going to want to put the cataclysm down. He has to flash away from this one. It looks like Nightblu wants it kicking away. Trick2g. Bive is the next one to try to flash up this one. Fabi untouched in the back. Moonway trying to be focused down right here. Trick2g is going to get blown up right there as Fabi goes legendary. That's his 10th kill of this game right here. Trick2g, the captain, has gone down, has a minute left on his death timer. Command Shockwave actually whiffs right there. He's fishing for Earth. Looked to be the target. Did not get hit with that one. He does want to get a chunk of damage from Fabi. The heal goes off. He's going to go back to base to heal, but I don't think he has enough time to get out from his summoner platform here, Sifa. The Nexus tower goes down, the Nexus goes down, and Nightblu's team finds their first win of the OMEN Encounter, and it's going to be against Trick2g.
Yeah, Trick2g's team here just struggling to get the situations that they wanted. Obviously, Udyr not having that advantage in the early game is just huge. Good on Nightblu for camping that top lane and getting those early kills out. And just a rough game for Trick2g overall. 1-9-2, not quite the performance he wanted to have. And despite the fact that he did split push hard and they had that excellent push down the mid lane, it just was not enough to combat Nightblu's amazing team fighting and their excellent picks in this game.
Yeah, Trick2g's team definitely showed signs of being scrappy and being able to take a fight, but they were just so far down in gold all across the board that Nightblu's team, they looked a little bit more coordinated, especially compared to yesterday's performances, and they just abused those advantages against a weak Trick2g lane phase and just came out on top and dominated. We're going to have to see if they're able to carry that one over into the next match of the night, though, guys, because now it's going to be Nightblu's team stand on the rift while Trick2g and his army get to take a little bit of rest for at least one game. It's I'm a Cutie Pie and his boys are going to step into their place, try to take down Nightblu. Both of these teams right now 1-1. They want to see who can end the week with 2 wins because, of course, all the players, if you check out OMEN.gg, the website for this awesome tournament being put on by HP and Intel, you could keep track of not only your favorite captains through your fan votes that are going to help you be entered into a raffle for an HP Omen notebook, but of course all the players that participate earn their own points based off of how many games they win every single week, and that of course is going to be worth it for the prize pool if they want to